going on, Jerome's Minnesota Vikings offense started out of the gate pretty damn hot. And Kevin O'Connell in year 3 at the helm of the Vikings, calling the plays as well. I mean, they shot out of a cannon. The Niners, Texans, Packers, Jets, Lions game, the Vikings both got out to double-digit to 0 leads, and the offense in the first halves looked very, very good. But as of late, yeah, maybe not so much. So there's a lot to work on, and now you have injuries to Christian Darrisaw piling up. So that's major, losing your cornerstone left tackle. And Kevin O'Connell looking for answers right now. All of the parts are there, and we've seen this offense play at a high level, but consistently, once they get away from scripted plays, as well as once halftime adjustments come in the second half, it just hasn't been great, and getting the ball to Justin Jefferson has been difficult at times, and the Vikings need to find a way to get Slinging Sam Darnold back to good, get the ball out of his hand quickly, and resume his September NFC Offense Player of the Month status. Seems like a long time ago, but here are 10 ways that Kevin O'Connell can jumpstart the Minnesota Vikings offense. Number 1, become an FU power running team. And now, a lot of it is 12 personnel, right? So the Vikings potentially going a little bit heavier packages, especially with TJ Hawkinson back. And also, whatever happens to left tackle, it would make sense to have Oliver on that side as well, getting a chip on that edge. So that makes sense. So the Vikings potentially could pay 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, or even 22. 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and just getting the running game going, whether it's Jones, Chandler, Akers, CJ Ham at tailback, the pride of Augustana toting the rock. Love to see that man. And the Vikings have run about 60% zone, 40% power, a man/gap throughout the season so far. I think they should flip that, or maybe even 70-30 a man gap, because the offensive line personnel, even without Darrisaw, that's what they're built for. And getting back to physically setting the tone up front, wearing out opposing teams' front 7, making their pass rush have to defend the run early and often, that's all going to stack up in the offense's favor, especially first and 10. All of a sudden, you're going to second and short, or second and medium versus second and long. That certainly helps out everything. Next up, number 2, exploit 12 personnel mismatches. So 1 running back, 2 tight ends, Hawkinson and Oliver on the field at the same time. It's sexy. It's sexy. And we've talked about how it can cause mismatches, because if teams play their base defense, all of a sudden you have to defend Hawkinson and Oliver in the passing game along with Jefferson and Addison. And if they go sub-package, all of a sudden you can check to a run, and then all of a sudden you're going downhill with some heavier personnel up front. And I like the chances of Josh Oliver blocking a outside linebacker or a safety or a corner any day of the week. So the Vikings can certainly do that. Plus, going up-tempo and going quick game as well certainly helps. Now, up-tempo, especially when you're in that 12 personnel and you catch the opposing defense stuck in a mismatch, if you don't sub, they don't sub. And that's what's great about it. So I think that the Vikings need to utilize tempo more, because I feel like a lot of it is overthinking things, especially getting the play call in. It's wordy, and we've seen that over the last 3 years. Kevin O'Connell ended the delay games, having to burn timeouts, especially early in the game. You can't have that. So simplifying things and letting Darnold play in flow does make a ton of sense. Plus, in terms of the quick game, without Darrisaw, you're going to have to do it. And I know that, Darnold's been hanging on to the ball too long this season, and kind of been his thing, but also it hasn't really, because you go look at his Carolina tape and parts of his USC, like, he is capable of getting the ball out quick. So a lot of it is Kevin O'Connell and play design, because O'Connell loves the 5 and 7 step drops, but when guys aren't getting open downfield, when you're not getting that protection, it's a recipe for disaster. And how many times in the last couple games against the Rams and Lions has Darnold gotten to the top of his drop, either 5 or 7, stepped up in the pocket and had to skedaddle because no one's open, or he doesn't have the protection? It's been an issue. So screens, slats, flats, 3-step drops, getting the ball out of 14's hand quick, it does make sense. Next up, number 4, someone besides 18 and 87. So Hawkinson is likely going to be back against the Colts, which is going to be fantastic. We'll talk about him in a sec. And yeah, Jefferson, but an ancillary part has to step up. And whether it's Addison, who free three. Hey, all right, so we'll give you looks. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to get open? Are you going to reel things in? Are you going to show up and show out? You're hyping up Sunday Night Football as a primetime game. Thursday night was a primetime game. Or what about Jalen Speedy Naylor? So remember, when he started 3 games in place of Addison as wide receiver 2, 3 straight games with a touchdown. So obviously he and Darnold have some chemistry. So how about one of them steps up, or Pollard, Sherfield, or whoever? All right, so anyone besides 18 and 17 have to step up, because Jefferson and Hockenson will get theirs. But when defenses strive to take them away, who else is going to step up? Someone's got to do it. Number 5. Get Darnold to get rid of the ball. So that's part and parcel of the quick game. And also, Darnold is last in the NFL in time holding the ball. You got to coach that out of him. And I don't know whether it's McCown, I don't know whether it's Phillips or O'Connell. You really saw this in the Jets game, where he was hanging on to the ball too long. He was trying to make that big-time play, and sometimes it works. Usually it doesn't, right? Especially now without Darisaw, that internal clock has to speed up really, really quick. And all of a sudden, waiting for these long developing routes to come together ain't going to happen. So you basically have to excise that part of the playbook and get Darnold to get rid of the ball quick. I mean, look at Jared Goff. Look at Goff and Ben Johnson. That ball is out quick. That ball is out on time. And that ball is a high percentage throw every single time. Like the Lions put up 52 points and Goff threw 3 touchdowns and threw for 87 yards. That's fine, because we need to minimize Darnold taking sacks, negative plays, really killing drives, as well as, hey, the longer the offensive linemen have to block, the more likely there's going to be a holding call, because that's just nature of the beast. So get the ball out of 14's hands quick, and let's start moving this offense. Number 6, use Oliver as a perma left tackle chip. So whoever starts at left tackle in Darisaw's place, I got to take Darisaw off the depth chart. Wow. Whether it's Blake Brandel, whether it's Rouse, whether it's Quisenberry, whether it's left tackle TBD, having Josh Oliver, the best blocking tight end in the game, out there as a permanent chip, as well as a potential outlet on that side of the field, does make a ton of sense. Next up, number 7, you got to simplify pre-snap motion. And when it works, it's fantastic. You get some unique matchups. Defenses have to show their hand, whether they're playing man or zone, or you can get some unique mismatches, but the Vikings lead the league in pre-snap penalties, whether it's false starts, whether it's delay of games, whether it's illegal formations, whether it's illegal shifts. It's too complicated, right? And I know that this is the offense that you want to run, but these guys, they aren't dialed in, and they're making sloppy mistakes. And at a certain point, it's not just on them, it's on the coach for not making adjustments. So you may have to wait till next year. You have a full off-season training camp, OTAs to reinstall this, but it's not working right now, so you do have to simplify things, because it's drops of water in the bucket. Eventually, they will erode everything that you need, because 5 steps for illegal ship, 5 yards for illegal ship, 10 yards for blah, blah, blah. And it's just, you can't keep putting yourself behind the sticks in these spots and killing drives. You just can't do it. Next up, number 8. Turn Hockenson to the first option. Now, I know what you're saying, but Jefferson is the first option. He is. But the middle of the field has been an area where Darnold has not attacked. And it's so odd, because Darnold made hay with the Panthers as well as at USC over the middle of the field. Juju Smith-Schuster out of the slot is notable, right? It was time back in LA. And also, when O'Connell was talking about the draft process, he talked about throwing accurately over the middle of the field as one of the number one things that he needs in a quarterback in the draft. And the fact that it's been basically voided, if you look at Darnold's passing charts, it's really interesting. So Hockenson over the middle in the hook zones, like, he needs to be that guy, also up the seam. And guess what? All of a sudden, because defenses are concerned about Jefferson and Addison deep and outside. So that's where they're mainly focusing their attention. So all of a sudden, if you attack that soft middle with 8-7, all of a sudden things are going to get a lot more simplified on the outside. All of a sudden, Jefferson's going to get one-on-ones if you're just gashing them death by 1,000 cuts with Hockenson over the middle, Hockenson over the middle, Hockenson over the middle. And then all of a sudden, you hit play action, you bang Jefferson deep and on the outside for 6. Same thing with Addison. It's going to be worth a shot. And again, I know it seems counterintuitive that you would go away from Jefferson as your number 1, but bringing Hockenson back in, if and when he's 100%, it's going to open things up for everyone else. Next up, number 9, stop being so predictable. So O'Connell, like, he's been trying to spice things up, calling the trick play when you least expect it. All of a sudden, you got the Jefferson run pass option. I don't know, but especially in the second halves, when you get away from scripted plays and you have to be calling plays in the heat of the moment, it seems like the Vikings have gone back to run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt, the old Norv offense, where you got to change things up. And especially when the run game is getting stifled in the second half, I don't have the numbers from me, but the yards per carry first half to second half is stark. It's almost like 50% higher in the first half because defenses eventually do shut down the Vikings running game. And if you're just bashing Jones between the tackles on first and second down, all of a sudden it's third and long, that's easily defended. All right, so you got to be able to switch things up. Lastly, number 10, abdicate play calling to Phillips. Now, this doesn't have to be a permanent change, and I still believe O'Connell as a play caller, but something is clearly missing in the flow of the game because the offense is great in scripted plays, the first half as well as the start of the second half, but when you need plays in the money spots, it's not quite working. And again, this isn't so much an indictment on Kevin O'Connell, and this doesn't mean that he can't do it in the future, but maybe a fresh set of eyes is what this offense needs right now. Whether it's Wes Phillips, the OC, whether it's McCown, the quarterback's coach. I mean, Stefanski gave up play calling duties to Ken Dorsey with the Browns, and also with the change to Jameis Winston, they had the largest offensive output of the season. So this doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, and it could certainly kickstart my heart in terms of this offense. All right, so your thoughts are thoughts. 10 ways that Kevin O'Connell can save the Minnesota Vikings offense. KOC, your only hope. Yeah. Let's know your thoughts, our thoughts. What are the ways that the Vikings can save things? Let us know. Comment section, you know what to do. Skol, production value.